welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to do a little bit of a triple story. So we're going to be looking at David Roberts' Delightfully Different Fairy Tales with illustrations by his wife, Lynn Roberts Maloney. So we're going to be looking at Rapunzel, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty. In all of this. And yes, I'm eventually covering both Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty later. It's just, there's all in one book, so I'm going to throw them together. So, these are cute and fun. So, the first one is Cinderella, an Art Deco fairy tale. Rapunzel, a groovy 1970s fairy tale. Sleeping Beauty, a mid-century fairy tale. So these are pretty much the standard stories. It's just you have the different illustrations, which is kind of funny. So here is our Cinderella here in this book, and we have the stepmother and the stepsisters and their big car because it's the 1920s. And you kind of had the 1920s aesthetic here with the washing machines. And she's like sleeping in the laundry room with all the hangings. And there we have them getting ready in the 1920s. It's kind of, this is more for the illustrations than anything. And here's her fairy godmother who's kind of see-through. And she goes to the ball in this like giant stretch car. So it's and next morning after she's gone to the ball, I love, it's just they're so pointy. And here's kind of the end of the tale. Is her shoe fits happily ever after. So it's pretty basic. Girl go to the ball. Girl marries prince. So, and her stepsisters are in low wedding photos because they live happily ever after. So the next one is the 1970s Rapunzel. So here we have our Rapunzel and the witch. So it's very 1970s. And she's in a high-rise rather than a thing. Her hair is all wrapped up. She's listening to music. And she has to pull up the witch who's up a high-rise building. Concrete building. And she's an evil kitchen lady in this. This is the witch. She's an evil kitchen lady in this. So she's followed home by one of the students who, when she goes off to exercise, because it's the 70s, he meets Rapunzel. And they enjoy playing music together because, again, it's the 70s. You can see all sorts of the 70s aesthetic there. And then, of course, the hair isn't cut because she's evil. And she's thrown down. He's thrown down. Luckily, he falls on a bunch of mattresses. He does not go blind in this one. And she's wandering the streets with her now short hair, and he's looking for her. And she ends up sleeping kind of in an alleyway because she doesn't know where to go. And then she comes to his concert because she hears about it. And she ends up making wigs and live happily ever after. So, and now the evil lunch lady has to climb stairs. So that's that story. And then we have the Sleeping Beauty, mid-century fairy tale. So she's living in a little house in the country. Her name is Annabelle in this. But the big story is, of course, she's kind of a princess. On her first birthday, she's cursed. So she's like, you're going to prick your finger on a needle and die. So this is actually a lesbian couple. And they're like, what the heck do we do? So they keep needles away from everywhere, and she grows up falling in love with robots. And on her birthday, she gets a record player with a needle. So, and then of course she pricks it and falls asleep. And one of her mothers basically turns to vines to protect her and puts Rosalind, which is the name of mom, to basically she became a rose tree. And Flora wrote down a story so it will never be forgotten. She called it Sleeping Beauty. Then she turned herself into light so Annabelle was not in darkness. Okay. And time goes on, and you have the future. But the giant rose tree remained. People start going to libraries, and there are robots. And a girl finds the story and decides to think up the legend to see if it's true. So she's not woken by a prince. She finds her way through the rose bush. And she finds the sleeping girl. She touches her hand. Their fingers met. And she wakes up. It's like, I feel like I've been asleep for ages. And she's kept me safe for 1,000 years. And then she lives happily ever after because she's now in the future. She was robot obsessed. So that is the gist of this. I actually enjoyed this. I love the art. I mean, again, they're very simple, basic fairy tales, but it's all about the art. Though I like the fact that she's not woken by a prince in the last one. Rather than being woken by a prince, and now it definitely takes place, what is it? The Sleeping Beauty mid-century. So back when they were very, very obsessed with space and robots and all sorts of things. And she gets to wake up in the future 1,000 years later. Not to a prince, but to somebody who's really interested. So this is a great collection. I think you might be able to find these individually. But if you're looking at fairy tales and you're looking at a different way to do fairy tales, this is great. If you're studying art, this is a good way to look at it, particularly with younger kids. So I really did, in fact, enjoy this. So that is it for this review. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I will be covering Rapunzel is filming this in May. Rapunzel is June. So I will be covering Cinderella in July, and Sleeping Beauty comes later in the year. I think I'm doing Aladdin after that in August. I think Sleeping Beauty comes in September. So you will do Morse Tales of those. So both Aladdin and even Rapunzel, we will be doing some deep dive into those. Actually, I think we're doing Rapunzel. I'm doing Cinderella. Aladdin. I know Aladdin I'm doing in August. I must be doing this in June. I'm filming this in May. So, yeah. So we'll be doing Rapunzel in June. I'm doing more Cinderella in July. Aladdin's coming in August. And I believe Sleeping Beauty is, Sleeping Beauty is going to be September. And we're doing Snow White in October and Pocahontas in November. And then we'll move on to some other stuff. I know I'm doing Anastasia in December along with a few other things. So that is it. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more Cinderella, I already have a good collection doing a deep dive into that, which is what I'm doing here. With Rapunzel, I'll be doing with Aladdin, where I compare the actual tales to Disney and other things. So I will see you next time. Thank you.